program or project shall apply an adequate methodology according to the type of project, as well as Sir Carbono's tools as applicable. The methodologies outline the design and monitoring bases, as well as the implementation modalities for the various elements composing the climate change mitigation projects. In addition to Sir Carbono's own methodologies, the program accepts CDM methodologies. For more details on accepted methodologies, please visit Sir Carbono's webpage or watch the methodology-specific video. The VVB shall assess the correct definition of the project boundaries according to established provisions by Sir Carbono regarding temporary limits, project useful life or total project and accreditation period duration. Included carbon pools and emission sources shall be as per those described in the selected methodology. Spatial limits. In this case, it is mandatory the validator assesses no overlapping between the CCMP area and other Sir Carbono's or other programs or standards projects takes place, especially for projects in the land use sector, by verifying the CCMP location map uploaded to Eco-Registry. It is essential the thorough assessment of the holder and developer's legal capacity for the areas where the climate change program or project is implemented. The validator shall assess the existence and validity of documents such as proof of ownership or rights over the area facility, power of attorney, as applicable, mandate orders, as applicable. Regarding effective participation, it is essential the thorough review of projects or programs developed in community areas or where the CCMP have a significant impact on the surrounding communities. It's necessary to assess. A public consultation has been performed with adequate participation and resources, and the results of such consultation have been duly considered and resolved. General safeguards and Cancun safeguards have been considered in the CCMP design. The validation team shall assess the correct application of Sir Carbono's tool to demonstrate additionality of climate change mitigation initiatives. Hence, the project can be considered as additional. In revalidations, the validator shall assess the elements on which additionality assessment was based at the time the CCMP was designed are still valid. As for eligibility, this criterion is only applicable to land use sector CCMPs and aims to guarantee rules regarding previous use or land cover for the areas where the CCMP is to be implemented are fulfilled. For land use sector CCMPs, it is necessary the validator reviews and backs correct application of Sir Carbono's tool to estimate carbon buffer in initiatives to mitigate climate change in the land use sector, available at Sir Carbono's webpage. This includes, among others, a correct CCMP's risk level calculation has been performed, as well as an adequate determination on the reserves percentage to be applied to the CCMP. It is also required to review and approve, as applicable, the description of the current CCMP status and the presented evidence are adequate. Greenhouse gas emission sources and reservoirs that may be considered for each CCMP depend on selected methodology. The validator shall assess emission sources and reservoirs included in the CCMP are also included in the selected methodology. All of them are considered in both scenarios, and no significant emission sources in the context of the CCMP have been omitted. The validator shall assess if the baseline scenario is the most appropriate, plausible, and complete hypothetical scenario, including how conservatism, uncertainty, common practice, and operations environment principles had an impact on its selection. As regarded to the project scenario, the validator shall review if it is appropriate for the proposed CCMP activity and if it is in accordance with the methodology. Furthermore, application of Sir Carbono's tool to demonstrate additionality of climate change mitigation initiatives, available at Sir Carbono's webpage, shall be assessed. Baseline and project scenarios shall be analyzed in the context of additionality of the climate change mitigation initiative. Depending on selected methodology and PDD, the auditor shall assess CCMP's activity has given an adequate management regarding any potential leakage resulting from project activity implementation. Quantification methodologies include calculations, estimations, models, and associated direct, indirect measurements, among others. The validator shall review the CCMP utilizes in a correct way the selected methodology, that such methodology is active, and implementation is based on the current version of it, or use of a previous version is justified. Estimated values considered in GHG removal quantification and GHG emission reductions shall be assessed, so they follow future projections and criteria, considering the methodology employed, applicability of assumptions made, and quality of data used for estimations. Likewise, comparisons with own estimations to assess presented estimations can be carried out. It is important to note, the validator shall check calculations used in the CCMP by assessing. Calculations have been made following selected methodology and assessed criteria. Correct application of values to calculations, for example, GHG emission or remotion emission factors, default values, formulae, among others. Correct application of measuring unit and global warming potentials conversion by using updated information as per an IPCC reports for these warming potentials. During the validation process, the validator shall assess the GHG data management system and the activity procedures designed for the CCMP to determine if they are reliable. For this assessment, the validator should rely on the information uploaded by the CCMP to Eco-Registry, as well as on all relevant elements as described in the procedures of Ser Carbono's certification program. In the case of grouped projects, it shall be assessed the grouping and eligibility criteria had been explicitly defined in the PDD, and compliance with such criteria when new instances have been incorporated. Specifically, in verifications it must be assessed. The geographical scope in which implementation instances can be added has been defined in the PDD, and in verifications it has been considered when incorporating new instances. No instances using technologies or processes different from those established in project design have been included. New instances addition does not modify neither useful life nor accreditation period. During verifications, activity start for each implementation instance is, as a maximum, retroactive up to the date of the previous project verification from the second verification on. Implementation instances comply with all eligibility criteria and those established in Ser Carbono's protocol and in the methodology selected for project implementation. In verification events, all instances must be included. In cases where a methodology is applicable to a specific CCMP, but minor changes are required due to CCMP-specific circumstances, a request for a methodology deviation may be submitted to the validation and verification body. The validation and verification body shall decide, based on the program foundations and in applicable validation and verification standards, if it is admissible or not. If it does, then the CCMP validation is performed considering such deviation. Depending on the request, Ser Carbono's participation for its analysis may be requested. If the validator finds the project has deviated from methodology provisions or from the monitoring plan, a description on such deviation and alternate compliance means through an updated monitoring plan shall be requested to the project. If it is considered the deviation leads to a reduction in mitigation calculation accuracy, it shall be requested conservative hypothesis or discount factors to be applied to ensure no overestimation of achieved mitigation. The deviation request shall be requested for the full period where it needs to be applied. Methodological deviations should not be used to remediate intentional errors, deficiencies, or improvisations regarding scenarios consideration or the planned CCMP implementation. CCMPs shall promote and demonstrate activities aiming to compliance with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. To this purpose, CCMPs shall apply Ser Carbono's tool to report contributions from climate change initiatives to the Sustainable Development Goals, available at Ser Carbono's webpage. This tool is applied both in the design stage to report SDGs the CCMP will contribute to, and in implementation to report effective contribution of the CCMP to SDGs. Ser Carbono Certified Carbon Standard.